Well, good morning, everyone. We have a new visitor, so this is Scotland. I see they approved it, Mike declined. So I'm on dad duty right now, so she's getting toted around. So she's super excited to be on. With that, I'd like to thank our coffee sponsor, Bates and Lemon Group. And who's over here?
Thank you.
I just want to make a few comments. For many years, I was Rango Insurance, and just recently, Rango Insurance, merged with Levitt Group. And Levitt Group is a very, very large, independent insurance agency. They do business insurance, they do work comp, they do employee benefits, and obviously home and auto and so forth. But I've been doing insurance here in Durango for over 40 years. And, I started right across the street at an insurance agency here on Main Street. So it's been a long run, and as you know, insurance can be very frustrating, very complicated. But in the next few years, I might look at sunsetting. But I do want to make one comment about insurance. The individual mandate or the individual plans are still available. I know many of you are on group plans with your employers, but if you know someone that does not have health insurance right now, the individual plans will still be available up until March 16th for an April 1st effective date. So kind of keep that in mind because they did extend it past January 1. So if you know anybody that needs individual health insurance, have them reach out to us. We'll help them out. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Ken. We've got a sign-up sheet that we'll start sending around. If this is your first time here, you can go to the very last page, add your contact information, and we'll get you on all of our distribution lists. It's like we've got some first-time faces here. If this is your first time, if you don't mind just taking just a second, stand up, kind of introduce yourself, where you're from, why you're here. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm Jake Gingrich, and been here since '96. Involved in real estate. We're doing a project out on 172 right behind the Grange. You know where that's at? It's the first phase of it's going to be an 80-unit housing, family housing project. So.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jake.
Amy Bates, I'm with True West Real Estate in Durango. I just opened up an office several months ago. So.
Brett Rosenbach, one of the greats here in town. I've heard this a couple times, but it's worked pretty well. Especially with Durango, it sucks to in. Background in consulting, but like a lot of people, real estate.
Thank you.
My name is Carlos Rocha. I'm with Program Insights. So I really want to connect with the community. So I heard this really great group. So I want to see everything that's going on here and see how it can help.
Great spot to do it.
I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, but we came up to our school. I worked at St. Juan's as a commercial trainee. And this is my first time here. It's interesting. So I'm excited.
Any other first? Yes.
I'm Carrie Hugus. I'm a community outreach specialist with LPA.
Not all of them. Okay. Plenty of first timers this morning. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for coming. We had our monthly board of directors meeting yesterday. Tons going on, especially this week. We've got an employer focus group on Wednesday with Project Moxie, which is another project that we're working on. We've got a bond to business event on Thursday evening. And then really looking at another chairman circle planning session towards the end of it. Other things, those are kind of the highlights I would say from the board meeting yesterday. At this point, Mike, you want to go to you?
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. So great to see everybody without masks. It's been a while, right? As Jameson said, we had a delayed board meeting. It's normally on the first Wednesday of the month due to travel and conflict schedules we had yesterday. A couple of new members that I want to highlight, Growth Fund Properties. Actually, these are renewals. Ascent Digital Marketing is a new member. Steve Gates Architects is a renewal, and new member is Code of the West Real Estate. So I want to thank them for quickly highlight some stats. These came in literally the day before yesterday. I'm not going to spend much time on it, but thank you, sir, for putting 80 units in place. The only thing I'll highlight is what's red underlined. The average sales price in Durango proper for single family homes was $741,000 or north of that. That's a 24% increase year over year, same time last year, so February 2021. There are 13 units of single family homes on the market right now. I think that's gracious. And most of them are probably under contract. This is to note, the La Plata County proper, the single family home average price was $969,000, or just north of that. That's a 54% increase, same time last year, February of 2021. The price is driven by a couple of different factors. Number one is there were 3 homes sold in Durango Mountain that were all north of 3 million. So that obviously drove up the average of the sold listings of 39. 3 of them were over 3 million. That was a drag up. But we're going to continue to see increased pricing, just supply and demand. With lack of inventory, this will be the story every single month in, month out. Phase 1 draft for the workforce housing investment plan that we're doing with Project Moxie is complete. So it's tomorrow in this room. A not-for-profit focus group as well on Thursday. And then, as Jameson alluded to, if anybody that is interested in a 9R bond, there's a meetup, a meet and greet at the fairgrounds with the general contractors at 5 o'clock. We'll have some beer there and some food. There'll probably be 1 or 2 more meet and greets for bond of business before they actually get going and sign all of their subcontractors. Durango Fire Protection District will have a public forum, and that will be on the 10th as well at 6 p.m. And then I apologize, that's going to be Thursday. And I think that is the 10th. And then SCAPE is hosting an OEDIT discussion with Advanced Industries at Outdoorsy, just across the street here. And that is Wednesday, the 9th at noon. Everybody has a Alliance annual report on your desk. If you need another copy, please see me. Digital copies are online. The only thing I'll highlight is if you look at our fiscal health, we work really, really hard. And as a result of a couple of grants, I think we're in the best shape we've ever been in financially. So we were able to put $200,000 into an investment fund, in addition to 120, 130 that was already there. So that gives us literally almost 1 year of operating capital that we've got tucked away in an investment fund. And I don't think we've ever been able to do that. So I'd like to thank everybody sitting here to help us get there. That's on top of a $90,000 fund, a rainy day fund that we have. So we're in great shape. Hopefully this next investor April meeting or the May meeting, more than likely, because in May we'll be done with the workforce housing investment plan that will go straight to the RHA. So thank you. Jason. I should say Scott.
She found great to take over. I would say that just one comment, the most exciting thing I think about the financial state of the economic environment for years, you know, we've always wanted to try and help the business community and do a little bit more. And I think fiscally right now, we're finally kind of entering a position where, you know, if there's projects that aren't quite able to get over the hump, or if there's assessments on the front end, I think that's something that's really trying for us to look at, really try and add value back to the community. So super exciting. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Michelle. Moving on to newly Commissioner Chair Salt.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone. So I have to be very brief and I apologize. So I'm going to be talking about ARPA updates as well as my sector will be broadband. And I know we have a speaker today and I urge them to as well to please reach out to me. My number is 970-382-6217. Call me anytime, please. I'm trying to head up the broadband initiative. So with ARPA funds, La Plata County will be receiving $10.9 million. We received $5.4 million of May of 2021, and we'll receive another additional $5 million. That will go to affordable housing and homeless, $4 million, 25% to broadband, which is $2.5 million, and then 35% to social impacts, which would be rural health use, items that you can put under the social impact due to COVID for $3.5 million. What that means for the $2.5 million for broadband is opportunities for families and businesses in La Plata County to have better internet access in La Plata County. With that $2.5 million, which as we all very well know, 2.5 is not a lot of money for that initiative. But as we see, that could help match grants in the state, as well as with infrastructure bill that is moving forward here soon. So hopefully we can turn that 2.5 million into much more. Next month, end of this month or by next month, we will be sending out an RFP for an organization to help facilitate funds, reviewing other grants to be able to, depending on what sector you submit for those fundings, we will have an organization to review that process. And when that process is done, the county commissioners will review and finalize that funding to those organizations. So far, we've received $62 million in requests. That's why we kind of whittled it down to 3 sectors in order to, what we foresaw and what we wanted to do was to help La Plata County with this $10.9 million. With that on the broadband talk, so please, if you have any ideas, please reach out to me anytime. I look forward to speaking more about it. As well as that, for me, I foresee on a 2.5 and matching with other grants is to be able to work on that last mile effort. There's also other items too as well with that I'm part of with the Southwest Regional Broadband Committee. Emily Meisner has been very helpful on facilitating that with multiple counties to work on that middle mile project. That is other funding that we will find to be able to maybe dip into the infrastructure bill and those funds. But this is a multi-coordination, many counties trying to work together to close in that fiber loop, which we really do need to address our redundancy in La Plata County. For example, Bayfield, ACCO hit a fiber line 2 years ago. Augusta Springs was down, 911 was not working. So we really need to address redundancy and being able to provide a closed loop throughout the whole state of Colorado. There's another item too as well, and ISPs will definitely know the issue with this, and that is with CDOT and right-of-way acquisition. And what I've been hearing from many ISPs is the issue with the right-of-way access and the extra constraints to be able to, it just becomes too cost prohibitive So there is a state bill being introduced that potentially could ease right-of-way access for ISPs. So I'm reaching out to CDOT here this week and look forward to discussing more about potential what could this new state bill, if approved, will do for ISPs to be able to have easier access to put in right-of-way fiber in those right-of-way locations. The other option too as well, and this is just something I just briefly brought up, would be shadow conduit policy. It's a policy to where, and this is just nothing set in stone, but something I'm trying to reach out to the public, and please ISPs reach out to me or any other businesses, but an opportunity that if someone's going to dig and put in fiber or conduit, it would reach out to other organizations to let them know, hey, this is what we're doing. Would you like to partner on this? So that's another opportunity to put some empty conduit, fiber in the ground, working together to help pay for that cost. So that's another option too as well that we're looking at. But I apologize, I have a meeting in 10 minutes, but please reach out to me. My number is 382-6217. I'm serious, call me anytime. Love talking about broadband. And of course, those other issues too as well about affordable housing, which Commissioner Porter Norton is a part of with RHA. But I look forward to doing a lot of good in La Plata County with this ARPA funds, and thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner Salka. Move on to Chris Stebner, Director of Ting. We're going to up the audio a little bit so that people all on. Morning, Chris. Chris.
Chris Stebner, former owner of Cedar Networks, now regional manager for the western slope of Colorado with Ting. So you may have seen in the Herald recently, we did announce that we're going to be doing a ubiquitous fiber to the home development here in Durango. So that will result in fiber to every address within the city. That should kick off here in the spring, probably take us 18 months or so to complete. I would note that we're also looking at Cortez. We were ready to pull the trigger on that one right before the RFP came out. So now we're in a bit of a holding pattern. Sorry about that.
No, you can.
Until that RFP goes through, we're also looking at Dolores, a possible grant opportunity. I think that may make sense there. One of the reasons that we chose Ting over most of the other companies we looked at, which were dozens, was their commitment to the community. So we've got an excellent affordable housing program where we will donate free connectivity to 3 to 5% for every city designated affordable housing development. So those folks get free internet. We also do a ACP, which is the Affordable Care Program, Affordable Connectivity Program, the final state of the emergency broadband benefit that came out during the pandemic. So that's where we'll work with individuals to offset their monthly internet cost, drive prices down. We also do all the regular fun stuff, so free Wi-Fi in various parks. We donate to event programs, willing to sponsor various things. So my ask would be at this juncture, if you have any events or programs you would like to sponsor or see sponsored, reach out. My phone number is 970-403-4588, and I'd like to get in touch, figure out how we can spread some money around and improve things in Durango. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. We'll move to Scott Sean.
Good morning. My name is Scott Shine. I'm with the City of Durango's Community Development Department. And, thanks to Mike and all of you for giving us a few moments. Mike asked me to specifically talk about the La Posta area and the work that's gone on recently to get that off the dime. I've been here about 9 years, and ever since I came here, everybody talks about La Posta is the next growth area for the city. It's where we need to expand. It's where we need to provide services so that we can realize sort of the potential down there. And I know that's even been the case before I was here. So we really put some concerted energy towards understanding the problems down there, identifying the partners, and starting to make a plan to move forward. So I'll share with you an overview of that. I know Mike likes to cram these meetings full, so I'll try and be quick, but I'll get through my info and then happy to answer any questions. So just to start, I wanted to give kind of the framework for how we're approaching this and what's really driving the movement to focus on the POSTA. These are also can be called sort of the no duh statements. These are the kind of obvious things that have inhibited growth and realizing the potential on the POSTA. So when we look at the community, when you hear Mike give his update on real estate and you see prices just going through the roof, we really see that lack of developable land with city infrastructure is underlying that, as well as a number of other issues. Transportation, job growth, that's just a fundamental issue we need to address as a community to solve some of these problems that we all know exist. The way that the city and county, I was talking to Commissioner Salka before he left, can really stimulate that new investment is by strategically providing public services in areas where we want to see growth and investment. So when we think about, city water, sewer service, things like fiber, this is really where we can tell the private sector, by getting these services to the area, this is where we want growth. This is where we want the new investment to happen. Generally, we've learned, as many of you know, the POSTA is in what's called the joint planning area. It's not in the city, but it's right on the city limits. And so it has overlapping land use review between the city and the county. So it's a very complex and a little bit uncertain process. So we feel like because of the direction that La Posta is going, the city is better equipped to govern, to provide services for La Posta. So that's really driving us to take more of a leadership role down there. As I'll mention, we're looking at annexing about 320 acres into the city limits to be able to provide city services. And that's really driving that. There's a mix of uses proposed down there. The county, nothing against the county, but they're not really in the water sewer business. That's not their game. So the city thinks that we can take a leadership role by providing services down there. And then lastly, this is something I really firmly believe in, is any sort of us versus them mindset will not solve these large, complex problems that are facing us. And we really need to focus on partnerships. And this is an example of how we've been able to, at least on the front end, really generate that momentum, get past this sort of turf battles or, pointing fingers and really try and identify shared goals. And Mike and the Alliance have played a big role in that. He's helped us convene landowner meetings to share this information with landowners and all get on the same page. So I'm going to move more quickly now, and then I'll have time for if there's any clarifying questions. So when you think about La Posta, when we talk about La Posta, it's a much larger area than we're currently focusing on. The La Posta area plan covers Animas Air Park, covers further down south La Posta, but we really decided to hone in on this northern portion. Like I said, it's about 320 acres, 21 distinct properties, and between 17 or 18 different property owners. And that's really our area of focus. You could consider it maybe phase one. If this goes well, when we get this part sorted out, maybe we expand up to the airport, maybe we continue going south. But we felt like we really needed to hone in on sort of the highest potential properties, and this is where we landed. Recently, a lot of you know this, and I'll just hit on these briefly. The city invested $2 million, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, to run a water main down La Posta Road and up to Animas Air Park, in large part to support Stone Age and other employers to really help them be able to be in the community, expand. So that was a big city investment, and it sort of set the stage for where we're going now. The city and county jointly funded, and the Alliance helped coordinate a sewer master plan. And we identified that South Durango Sanitation District has capacity to serve this area. So getting sewer across the river is feasible, and we need to really just hone in and dig into the details of how that works. We have some new property owners down there that are really motivated, that are locally engaged. They know the community. They want to help solve some of these problems like job growth, like affordable housing. So that's really kind of created a sense of urgency to solve the problem. So that's exciting. There's also residential development proposed down there, which is a main goal for our city council and the city as a whole. There's a lot of public funding coming through. You heard Commissioner Salka talk about ARPA. The city didn't get quite that much money, but we have about 4 million that we're looking to invest from ARPA. And then, as many of you have heard before, the Urban Renewal Authority provides some unique financing tools that will really help cover the cost of infrastructure now. So all these things have sort of teed it up to say now is really December to sort of gauge the temperature of the people down there. And then I've followed up with a lot of one-on-ones to say, here's how your land is designated, the types of uses you can do. Does that fit with your vision for the future? Do you want to change that? The white lines here are future road alignments. Do you want to adjust those? Do you have different plans? So we're having those conversations. Those have been really productive. And generally, all the landowners are really on board moving forward with annexation, which is really exciting. I won't touch on all of these, but there are a number of benefits for those landowners to be annexed into the city. Primarily, the provision of city services, city police, water and sewer, well, sewer from South Durango Sanitation District, but a variety of services that will help make that land more valuable, will increase the options for what they can do on their property. And then finally, the urban renewal financing, and I don't have time, and you probably don't want me to go into the details of this, but I'm happy to talk about it more if you have questions. It's a really powerful financing tool that the city now has access to through the Durango Renewal Partnership, which is what we're calling our Urban Renewal Authority. We have the Midtown Urban Renewal Area. That was our first one. We're forming the second one called the North Main Gateway. Once the property is annexed into city limits, we can apply the urban renewal financing to La Posta. Basically, what that does is allows us to tap into future growth in tax revenue from development and put that towards upfront costs of infrastructure or other development costs. So again, I can talk about that for days if you want, but I'll keep moving and we can circle back if we need to. This is just a quick timeline at a real high level of how we're looking at moving forward. I'm not going to say it's a simple or a quick process, but yeah, I think it is the right. Mainline infrastructure that has really inhibited development. If someone I know there's a lot of other stuff on the sort of water supply issues at a city level. But basically, once we get municipal water down there, there's not really the same limitations as well permits and those types of things. So it really just, there's the bigger question of how much water do we have as a community? Once we get water to La Posta, that sort of eliminates that sort of burden or that barrier, because it's treated water. It's not dependent on getting a well permit from the county or the state. Does that help?
It does, yeah, we can dig into all the things later. Thank you.
Sir?
The timeline for annexation, I don't know if I missed it, but how many months are we talking out before you can see that moving forward?
The first step is we have to do those map updates and get everybody on board. So that's probably over the next, I'd say, 3 to 4 months is getting that pinned down. And then right after that, we'll move into the annexation. We have to do some things like impact reports and assess the costs. I would hope there's significant strides, before the end of the year. I don't want to promise completion or anything, but it's a big focus for our department. I know it's a big focus for the county. So like I said, we see it addressing a lot of these underlying community issues that we're all concerned about. So, thank you.
If you have any further questions, please do email either myself or Scott Shine directly. With that, we'll turn it over to Karen Chesser. Karen, thanks for being here today.
First of all, let me say thank you so much for putting family units in Durango and Minor. I can just tell you, we are very concerned about our teachers and staff having places to live. And we had a pretty high level position we offered a couple of weeks ago. The guy was coming from Houston, Texas. He loved it. He wanted to come. And then after a week, he had a call and say, I can't find a place. I can't take the job. He had 4 kids. And so anything we can do to increase, especially affordable workforce housing, is very much appreciated. So thank you very much for having me here today. Michael asked that I give an update on COVID, which I'd rather not think about anymore, to tell you the truth. And also what we're doing for workforce development and the pipeline, K-12 pipeline, to make sure our kids have informed plans after graduation. So first of all, I have to say we were very thankful for this. No more masking, but we appreciate the community support as we were masking. It allowed us to not have to quarantine. We didn't have 1 day off of school this year, which was not the norm. So thank you very much for doing that. Now, there were days when everybody in district office was subbing in schools because of what was going on, but we are so thankful we could keep kids in school where they belong. Just a quick report. We've only had 5 cases since last Monday when we did get rid of masks and changed, we went to a routine disease control model. 5 students, of course, not from school, but just I think 4 were in one family. So thankfully, we're down. I think you've probably seen the numbers. I think we're at 2% positivity and 20 per 100,000. So that's great news. I want to give you a couple updates on our buildings. You heard about Bond to Business. This is where Miller Middle School is going to be. We are completely changing the footprint so that we can keep the kids in school the entire time. This has been quite the feat. But we will be putting the track and I'll show you another picture here. The track and the hard courts and a lot of the parking on the top. We are keeping the 2004 edition. That's the only way we could come in budget. But as you probably know, we're at $534 a square foot right now, which is escalating, which is crazy. So we are going to be completely jetting and renovating the 2004 edition. The building will be on the area right now where the track is. And we are going to have an outdoor amphitheater. So many outdoor spaces is going to be fantastic. We're keeping a lot of the garden and woods and really incorporating those trails into the design. And one of the cool things is, and this does have to do with workforce development, is this whole building is really built around this idea of collaboration and project and performance-based learning, and really melding the indoor and outdoor spaces. I'm happy to come back later to talk about our sustainability measures that we're doing. And this is seen in our new buildings. So what we're going to be doing is we have, for example, pods, is to really focus on that collaboration and real life learning, authentic learning, collaboration. And so each of these pods will have learning stations and science classrooms in a really large kind of collaborative area. And so we'll have 2 of these for each of our grade levels. And in addition, we'll have a cool makerspace. We talked about the outdoor learning spaces, a performing arts center that we'll seat about 330 with some learning stairs and a really cool sound. So we're really excited about sharing this with the community. Online right now, there is a video that goes through this and you can provide feedback. So you can go to our website and see sort of that initial design. So our other building that we're working on right now, which directly relates to work. And the culinary program work together so that we are doing real life capstone projects. And we're celebrating the process of design. So you'll see with this building, we are incorporating the 5 steps of design thinking. So the empathizing, ideating, defining, prototyping, testing, and reflecting. And we wanted to create intentional spaces that really build that idea of prototyping, or give a space for empathizing with your consumer and your customer. And so this shows the basic outline. It's a 2-story building, so with very flexible spaces. So on the level 1, we have this whole shared commons area, which is for exhibitions, just for open flexible seating. We have a cafe, there are small group rooms, more of a glassed-in classroom for guest speakers and for classes, or for when students are working on projects and they need a little bit more silence. We have some tech computing classrooms. So just imagine counters with Macs and lots of different flexible kinds of spaces, tons of whiteboards, mobile displays. This is the top floor. So we have a green room that our agriculture students, natural resources, will be working on. The cafe, our culinary program will run. We have a makerspace, a really big open makerspace, more of a clean makerspace. So think 3D printers, final cutters, presses, like these kinds of things. And also a pitch room, tons of storage, and lots of outdoor spaces. So of course, this isn't exactly what it looks like, but here's kind of a mock-up of what this will feel like. So again, very flexible spaces for students and for us to be able to, for example, we could have a Lego League robotics competition in here and probably get 200, 250 people. So just imagine. There's another view. Again, not exactly what it'll look like, but very big, open. So that's something we're working on, and we're happy to explore more. That video will be coming out this week, so you can actually see going through the process of where we are with that and what the next steps are, and you can give feedback. Another exciting project we're working on, as you know, the district administration building and Big Picture High School have been sold. And Big Picture High School, those students have to be out in May because that's going to be turned into bays with fire trucks. And so we've been looking at this as an amazing opportunity to do really cool things for our Big Picture High School students. I don't know if you know, but Big Picture is a national model. This isn't just a Durango model. And it focuses on internships, which are internships that really help students really dive deep into their passions and interests. And so they go to school for 3 days, very project-based, very focused on both academics and student agency. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're out in the community. And I don't know if you know, these are some really cool students. Like we have one who is a gifted musician and he's taking college classes from Stanford online. You know, these are kids that maybe the traditional model just didn't work for them, but they are thriving. And so since we have to move, we are working with the Powerhouse. And our goal is for next year, we're going through the city and working with, what are some of the things we need to make sure are happening so that we can make this happen. The Powerhouse, so big picture, will be having school in the Powerhouse, in the gallery. We're bringing in some mobiles as well. The Maker Lab is moving, so they'll be able to use some of those spaces. That's sort of a temporary situation, and our goal is to actually create a new space, looking at the Carlton building there where the Maker Lab is, expanding, renovating, and having Big Picture High School on the top and a teen makerspace on the bottom. We're so excited about this. When we think about the opioid crisis, when we think about mental wellness, we've got to have something productive for our 13 to 18-year-olds today. And so we're working with a lot of our community partners to figure out how can we equip this space to have, just imagine, audio studios, 3D printers, tons of graphic design elements, lots of spaces for kids to get together and create and prototype, create new businesses. So excited about that. And if you're wanting to help us with that, we'd love to talk with you. Also, with regards to workforce development, we've been becoming much more intentional about what are all the career pathways that we have and helping students through advising, making sure that they're taking the right classes and that they're not just taking these as electives, but it's really leading to an industry credential and it's leading to articulation to the next level, whether that's a credential, a training, a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree. So this is just an overview of many of those pathways that we have either added or we're making sure all of our students know about. And so in order for them to make informed decisions though, we want to go beyond just what students might know because their parents are in a career or their relatives are in a career or they saw something online. And all of our 8th through 12th graders are taking U Science. It really has nothing to do with science. It's the science of you. And this particular tool helps students. It's 13 brain games at high school and 9 brain games at middle school. And by the way, adults can take it too. And it helps identify what a person's interests are and aptitudes. And it melds those to say which careers might be the best overall fit. And this is used in several states. I don't know if you know the Georgia story, but Georgia State now has an 82% graduation rate because of how they've helped students do things like this so that they're very informed and they support them as they're going through their 4-year degree, 2-year degree, and so forth. Your interests change, your interests can change based on experiences, but what the research shows is that aptitudes are really innate abilities, and what your aptitudes are at age 14 kind of stay the same. Now I have to say, when I first heard that word aptitude, I did not like it. I'm like, are you telling me this is about potential and you have no more potential? It is not like that at all. It really celebrates what your natural talents are. And so and what this says, you can't read it up there, but the first one, the second one is interest fit. The next one is overall aptitudes and interests have collided, and that is a great overall fit. And then the last one is the aptitude to interest fit ratio, which means, for example, if you look at health practitioners and technical, we actually have, and this is for you, Joe, right? 526 students who have an interest in that. We have 362 students, 526 students who have the aptitude to do it. 362 students who have the interest, and 446 where they have the aptitude and the interest to go in that field. Look at something around, let's say, architecture and engineering. On that one, 467 students have the aptitude for it, 182 have the interest, 251, it's a good overall fit. So we have 2.5 times more kids who have the aptitude for it than the interest. You look, we have over 2 times more students who have the aptitude than have the interest. So what in the world does this mean? How does this help?
You got to get the kids involved with the people in these sectors because they haven't been exposed to it.
Absolutely. So true. So, if I were someone who had construction, I'd be calling up to Durango High School and saying, hey, letter who have an aptitude for construction, because I'd like to offer them a chance to come out, spend a day with us, so they may not even know they have an interest because they don't know what it is. And so this way we can be really targeted. For example, we didn't even have a healthcare pathway at DHS until we kind of started it this year. But this is our #1 overall interest and aptitude area. We better get on the ball. So that leads us to this. Now this isn't original. I just had this up here to talk about workforce alignment and the pipeline. And if you look over in this area where it says K-12, learner pathways, post-secondary acceleration, that's where we live at Durango 9R. And we've got to do a better job of bringing all the partners together so that we're not, all sort of isolated. I could name right now about 7 or 8 different organizations that are working on this work, trying to streamline it, and that's not really efficient or effective. And so we are actually bringing together next Monday afternoon those organizations that we know about to figure out how can we work together to create a streamlined work-based learning platform to bring all of our efforts together, because there's such amazing work going on. And so if you are in this space and you work with this sort of up to post-secondary world with workforce, please let me know, and we'd love for you to attend that meeting. Last thing is Portrait of a Graduate. So one of the things when I got here in July, and I talked to quite a few people, and they had said, we aren't really necessarily streamlined towards a vision. We have a lot of great schools and a lot of great things. And so our goal is to create a unity of purpose, and that will be our Portrait of a Graduate, which is what are those skills and dispositions we want all of our students to know, to be ready for, we say 21st century, but that's past that, right? To be prepared for the future workplace. And so we are actually gathering input on this, and our goal is to, by the end of April, determine what this is for our district. We've talked with industry and community leaders and a think tank, and many of you were there. We've talked to all of our school and district leaders. We've gathered input from all of our teachers and staff. The last week of this month, we are going to be talking with all students during lunch at all schools. And then we are having 2 community conversations on April 7th and 11th. So look for those invitations. And our goal is to make sure that every single student who graduates from Durango 9R has an informed plan, is a productive citizen, a good person, and is successful at all of their passions and interests. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. I think one of the neatest things about that redesign of the space is they really were proactive in involving the students, getting the students' opinions, bringing them in, having them look at the sketches. So thank you. We'll transition over to Helen Catch. Like her dash, fall asleep.
Good to see you all. My name is Helen Kadich, and I work as Senator Hickenlooper Southwest Regional Representative. East out of Durango, we just opened up our office over at the Smiley Building, so come say hi whenever you want. I had a whole list of things that I'm going to go through, and recognizing the time, so I'm going to skip over a couple of pieces, but general overview of some projects and pieces of legislation that Senator Hickenlooper is working on, and then kind of wanted to just give a general what is happening in DC right now, which is kind of an intense moment right now, isn't it? So a couple of quick pieces. We just went through our congressional directed spending requests this last year. So we've been working with a handful of community leaders on a number of different requests. These were formerly known as earmarks. So we're expecting to hear back around these handful of projects that would be directing funding towards the Southwest that Senator Hickenlooper supported to be integrated into the bill, range from sewage, housing projects, substance abuse, et cetera. So right now we're working under a continued resolution for the budget. It ends at the end of this week. So we're expecting the House to vote maybe today, maybe tomorrow, and then that bill to be set in front of the Senate by Friday. So hoping that I'll be able to get back to our community leaders that we've been working with over the last year on CDS requests, maybe Friday, fingers crossed, or early next week. With that, if anybody is interested in learning more about the CDS process, we're going to be hosting a series of informational sessions at the end of this month for the next fiscal year CDS requests. So we worked really closely with the city, with the county, and other regional representatives. If anyone is interested in seeing if your project in town might fit into a CDS request, please get in touch. I'll send out information through Mike. And so we'll get that to all of you as well. Additionally, I will be speaking for the rest of my career about the infrastructure package. So, and the reason that is because it's really a monumental piece of legislation, biggest integration into our infrastructure since the New Deal. Working really closely with the city, really closely with the counties for the entire Southwest region. I bring this up because our office is continuing to gain more information on particularly the competitive grant opportunities that could be integrated into the Southwest. And so broadband, roads, bridges, much, much more. If any of you are working on a particular project that you think might be integrated or have an opportunity in the infrastructure package, is a really good time to get in touch with our office and get in touch with Senator Bennett's office as well. We're working with regional collaboratives for broadband, et cetera, but please get in touch with us anytime. Happy to go through projects and start flagging different competitive grant opportunities that might integrate into your work in town. What else? Okay, wanted to touch on a couple of pieces. Senator Hickenlooper is a business guy, you know him. There's a lot of different things that he's working on within the SBA. He had a lot of trouble with the SBA as a small business owner, and so this is one of his main targeted focuses throughout his work in the Senate. A couple of different pieces, but one I'll just speak to in particular is he just introduced the Bipartisan Streamlining EIDL Act, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Relief Loan Program. Total lifeline for a lot of small businesses in town and throughout the country, and a total pain is what we've been hearing from many of you in this room, as well as throughout the state. So he's introducing this piece of legislation that tackles a couple of different pieces. One, it requires a report on how the SBA Small Business Administration is addressing fraud so that we can keep these types of programs in place without so much pushback. And two, it makes it so that if you apply for the program, there's a fixed timeline on when you'll be able to hear back so that you know if your program is going to get the loan or not in a timely way so that you can start moving right away. I know that the Alliance has been working nonstop on housing, so thank you so much to everybody who's in the room working on that. I personally thank you as somebody who's renting and really wants to stay in this town, so thank you for that. Senator Hickenlooper is recognizing that this is a national crisis. I want to give a huge shout out to Senator Bennett and his entire team. They hosted a series of roundtables and came up with a policy action document that our office, as well as Senator Bennett's office, is working on moving forward, addressing how we can address local housing crises on a federal level. That was in part led by our Miriam Jen Lopez. She's famous, turns out, so we'll just keep celebrating her. A lot more to come on that level on how we'll be able to play at a federal level with really making an impact in local communities like ours. I think it would be tone deaf for me not to speak on two things. One, we're all feeling inflation already. So I wanted to speak on one thing really quick. Senator Hickenlooper serves on the Commerce Committee. He just hosted a meeting last week with the Commerce Committee looking at supply chain. So really thinking about how do we amplify and move forward with our supply chain, keeping it localized, keeping ports open to drive down costs for us. here at home, so that when we're building housing projects, we're not seeing, or new schools, we're not seeing inflated costs there. Couple of other pieces outside of the supply chain, lowering costs for prescription drugs, childcare, and energy, and localized energy in particular, and then revitalizing American manufacturing. I could go completely in the weeds on any of this. I won't right now, but if y'all want to get a little dorky with me after this, happy to stick around. And then the one last piece, potential segue, we're thinking about it every day, is the invasion in Ukraine. So I wanted to first say, Senator Hickenlooper is standing in solidarity with the people in nation of Ukraine right now. He joined a group of 18 bipartisan senators to introduce a ban on Russian oil imports. Really big article in the Times yesterday that I saw. Did anybody read this? Yeah, so a couple of things that I just wanted to point out. The ban on the Imports Act will cut off a key funding source for Putin in this invasion in Ukraine. And it declares a national state of emergency at home for us on national security, foreign policy, economics, and how that integrates or how that interacts with Russian in Ukraine. One note is that it just cuts it off for US imports. We get less than 10% of our oil from Russia. So this is really focusing on how do we hurt this attack led by Putin, and also I saw the gas prices this morning, so it's hard. But this is specifically targeting US oil imports, which again is less than 10% as we ramp up and diversify where we're getting our oil around the world. One last note, this omnibus bill, which includes the CDS request that I mentioned, hopefully we'll get word back on Friday. It also includes $12 billion in Ukrainian aid. That is a very bipartisan number right there. So I think we'll definitely see a huge chunk of aid going towards Ukraine, hopefully at the end of this week. So much more, happy to hang. Good to see y'all.
Thank you so much, Helen. We'll run just a few minutes over today, probably 10 minutes or so. Right after Melissa, we've got Melissa for updates. Melissa.
Hi, thank you. I will be quick. Okay. All right, thank you for having me, Mike. I'm the CEO of Think Network Technologies. You've probably seen our business on North Main as you've driven up and down, and you might not know what we do. So I just want to give you a little bit of background, but I will say this is the first time that I've spoken in front of a group of people in over 2 years, so I'm a little bit rusty. So we're an IT solutions provider. So we provide managed services, including something called 24/7 monitoring. We also provide cloud, network, and security solutions to businesses, public, private. Basically, we take care of IT so that businesses don't have to, they can focus on what they do best. And the reason why I'm here today is because I was in a meeting with Mike last week with some business leaders in our community, and the whole idea of cybersecurity came up, and in particular with what's happening in Ukraine and sanctions against Russia, it is a bit of a scary time. And you know, we want to know, how does that affect us as business owners and business leaders in this community? So CISA, which is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is a government agency. We look to CISA in the technology world to understand what are the cyber risks that we should be aware of and could impact us as business leaders. They essentially work to keep the public informed about what they need to be taking precautions on. About 2 weeks ago, they issued a Shields Up guidance for all organizations, big or small, really to adopt a heightened security posture when it comes to cybersecurity and protecting our most critical assets. That's our network infrastructure, that's our data. So as of this morning at 6 a.m. when I last checked, there are no significant or credible cyber threats to the US. However, as we all know, and as Helen just spoke about, the Russian government does have significant cyber capabilities, and with all of these sanctions, we need to be prepared for what they might use. And so what does that mean, really? It's that us, the people in this room as corporate leaders, CEOs, business owners, executives, we have to go back to our organizations and make sure that we're protected. So I've only been given 5 minutes. And so cybersecurity is really a big thing to discuss. So I boiled it down really into just the top 3 steps for improving your security posture. The first rule really is you want to look at your 3-2-1 rule for backups. So you always want to have 3 copies of your data. 1 is your production, your primary copy. You want to have 2 additional copies of your data, 1 of those being offsite. Here's the thing with security is no matter what you have in place, there could potentially still be an incident. So if you have a copy of your backup stored offsite, you are hopefully keeping it protected from something happening on site, and then you can restore it and get yourself back to a normal environment as quickly as possible. The second thing you want to do is multi-factor authentication, also called 2-factor MFA. You want this to be set up for all of your accounts. CISA says that having MFA reduces your ability to get hacked or have a security breach by 99%. It's relatively inexpensive to deploy MFA, which means you get very high protection for a very low cost. So you want to implement that for everything across the board. And then lastly, it's training. You have to train your employees. You want to train them to always verify emails that ask for account information, credentials, to send money. You should always verify via an out-of-band method, like using your cell phone or some sort of text messaging before sending any information or account information out. Also, you want to train them, oops, I made a mistake on this slide. You also want to train them on how to spot suspicious activity and red flags to help you spot a phishing email. So I've just got some examples here. If your employees experience a sudden appearance of new apps or programs on their devices, if they lose control of their mouse or keyboard, or if their device slows way down, you want to alert your IT department. Red flags to help you spot a phishing email. These are the emails that come in. They're weird. They might ask you for information. They use different tactics to try and elicit you to respond to them. So, they might call for you to respond urgently. They use fear tactics. They try and scare you. If you look, you might notice some subtle misspellings, poor grammar, weird phrases. These are all signs that it could be a phishing email, and you want to ignore it. You don't want to click on anything. Here's the thing. A real sender will never be offended that you decided to verify the validity of the email that you received. So just be cautious. So the thing with cybersecurity is it's really hard to talk about within 5 minutes. I put this slide together because these are some of the different options when you're talking about a cybersecurity protocol. We like to talk about cybersecurity in terms of layers. So if you have 1 or 2 layers and you're being intruded on some sort of cyber attack, there's a very good chance that if you only have a few layers, that you're going to have some sort of infiltration there. However, if you have many layers all the way up, you have a much better chance of being able to withstand any kind of a cyber attack because you have all of this in place. So, there's a lot here. Email security, firewalls, antivirus, DNS filtering. It's called a security stack, if you've heard that term before. But what's important to realize is that not every business needs everything. So you've got enterprise, mid-sized companies, they need something different than a small company. Healthcare, finance needs something different than a professional services firm. We're talking about different budgets here. So you want to work with a company or you want to work with IT professionals that understand your business. They can customize a plan that's based on what you guys need, what your pain points are, and And I think that's just really important. No, it's not a one size all approach. So if you do get hacked, and fingers crossed, we don't have to experience that, but it happens. So the most important things you want to do are to isolate any infected accounts and devices immediately. Just shut them down, take them off the network.
Oh, they got you.
Okay.
They got you.
Sorry about that technology. All right, so you want to isolate those devices and get them off the network. You also want to identify your notification requirements. In many cases, we are required by law to notify affected parties within a certain period of time. So if you get breached, you might need to alert your customers within a certain timeline. Identify the root cause and fix the vulnerability that caused it. You want to work with IT professionals to help you do that. And lastly, bring in outside help if necessary. You want to bring in attorneys to help you negotiate. An outside firm like mine can help you. There's lots of options there. If you get in over your head, there are resources that can help you. I don't have time for questions. I think I'm probably already over my 5-minute limit, but I did bring a security specialist with me here. His name is Matt. He's in the back. He's the CTO of our company. He will be able to answer any questions about how this might affect your business, what you need to be aware of. You can also check us out at thinknettech.com. We've got email addresses there, phone numbers. Give us a call and we would love to help. Thank you.
Let's move into public updates real quick, frankly, if we have it. So we have Mark Garcia, typically he's online. We're sharing. Nothing.
Hello, sorry. It's kind of kicking in and out, the audio, so. Okay. So the most, I think, critical thing we have going on right now is our April 5th election. In Ignacio, we have a mayor and 6 trustees. This year, we have a mayor position open, well, the election is open, and 3 trustees. So that's 4 seats on our board. My husband is running for mayor uncontested, so he will be the mayor of Ignacio. But I am also running for trustee. I chose to do this because we had so many projects that I wanted to see completed. And so I'm running against 3 other individuals. So we'll see how that goes. We will also have recreational and medical marijuana questions on our ballot this year. We're sending that to the community to seek their input. Our creative district is applying for certification this year, so that's very exciting. We've made some great strides with it. And we had a recent visit from ArtSpace. They've done several projects in Colorado, and the most recent, I think, being in Ridgeway. And they're very interested in Ignacio as well. So some really exciting opportunities for us. Thank you.
Super, thank you, Sharon. Mayor Tarkington from Bayfield.
Hey, everybody. Happy International Women's Day, first of all. Let me give you guys the quick land use update, just to fill everybody in. So we have Marlin Village, which is a 2-acre plot. It was annexed. It's just west of the Twin Bridges on Bayfield Parkway, and that is a 15-space tiny home village. Mustang Crossing is a 35-acre. It was approved for annexation. It's just east of Mesa Meadows, and that's an 85-lot medium density residential subdivision. Clover and Orchard, that's in town. It's a 1-acre lot. It's got a planned use development for a 14-lot townhome and single-family home residential development. We have 2107 Bayfield Parkway, 17 acres. It was approved for annexation. That is just west of the Conoco Alta location. It's a commercial development that's been proposed. And then we have our Bayfield East annexation, 162 acres. They're going through the annexation process now. And that is a mixed commercial, high density and low density residential development. And that will take place over several years. Save the date, the chamber reboot, relaunch, whatever we're calling it, will be on May 12th from 5:30 to 7:30 at Eagle Park. Any interested businesses or individuals, please come hang out with us. And then The other big talk in town is the east intersection, which will be a lighted intersection. We will officially be a 2-light town, but that is all in talks, and I'll hopefully have more updates at the next meeting.
We're taking on White Salmon, Washington, so please submit your vote. Downtown Next Step, hopefully you've heard of that by this point. We have an online questionnaire open that actually shows 4 of the initial conceptual designs for the future of Main Ave. Please fill that out, especially if you are a business owner. We want to get your feedback. It's available on the City of Durango website until Friday, March 18th. And then on March 31st, here in the Innovation Center from 5 to 7, we'll have feedback and summary from the questionnaire right here in the Innovation Center, just to, again, include community in that process. Bump outs are going to be starting to be installed next week on Main Ave and on 2nd. For full adoption, so stay posted with that. The Creative Economy Commission of the CEC voted with council approval to release 75% of the funding for the Durango Creative District in 2022. We're currently working on creating an application process for the lodgers tax, arts and culture to be available for community arts organizations. A quick housing update regarding ADUs. Another online questionnaire to gather residents' input on standards regulating accessory dwelling units. That's available through Wednesday, March 16th. And the hope is to figure out how we can make it easier for folks to have ADUs to better utilize their property and create additional housing opportunities in our neighborhoods. Last update, Westside Mobile Home Park. The residents of the Westside Mobile Home Park have recently formed a co-op and are taking steps to try and purchase the park. We have a deadline of March 20th, so it's a pretty quick turnaround, but expect an update in the coming weeks on the Westside Mobile Home Park and that potential purchase. Thank you.
About anything that was presented today, don't hesitate to reach out to the board, Mike, or Michelle.